Hey everybody, it's Chris. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be taking a look at episode 3 of the second season of A Discovery of Witches. We have quite a few things to talk about, so let's just jump in. Okay, so the biggest deal we have in this is how they are shifting things around timeline wise. And they've been doing that in every episode, which we'll get to in a moment. But first, we're going to talk about what was changed in this episode and why it matters so much. So the big timeline change here is Diana meeting the Coven in London and Goody Alsop and starting her training as a weaver. In the books, that doesn't happen until halfway through the book or more, and we have a lot of stuff that happens before that, like going to see Philippe in France, which is what we're leading up to right now. All of those things happened after her time in France. Her meeting with Father Hubbard, which we saw in an earlier episode, happened after her trip to France, which is kind of important because in the books, it is that trip to France that allows Diana to overcome issues with Father Hubbard, which they didn't do, obviously, in the show, which is interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how they bring that back around and if they actually visit Hubbard again and have what happened in France with Philippe affect her relationship with Hubbard like it did in the books. Another interesting thing that happened is a lot of the visits she has with her alchemist friend happen later in the book as well, and again happen after she has met Father Hubbard, gone to see Philippe, all of that stuff. So there's quite a bit of time shifting and moving events around that in some small cases don't matter at all, in my opinion, and in others it's kind of strange that they chose to make those changes, and I'm interested to see how they play out because it's really like a domino effect. Because so much was predicated upon her time in France with Philippe and how that adjusted her time in London, reversing that to have all these things happen before she even goes to see him will have a profound effect on how that story plays out in France, I think. And so I'm excited to see how that works. The other big change in this is that we meet Gallowglass, which is fantastic, and he's great. But in the books, Gallowglass comes in with another vampire who is in service to the de Clairmonts. And there's a much longer story with them, and they are very hostile towards Diana in the beginning. Obviously, vampire witch at this time did not like each other and get along at all. But the best part was them finding out that she is married to Matthew, and then that they're mated, because there was like, oh, it's a convenience thing that they're married. It's a political thing because Matthew was on the congregation at this time. And then going a step further, no, she's actually my mate, which is a very serious thing in vampire culture. And then Gallowglass begins calling her auntie because he's the nephew of Matthew, and now that's his aunt. And it was a nice progression in the books to see, and they skipped over all of that in the show and just went from him like sneaking in with a knife to seeing him again at the end of the episode calling her auntie, I believe. And they just skipped over all that development of their relationship, which is a shame in some sense because Gallowglass is a fantastic character and he's an important character in the life of Diana going forward. And so it would have been nice to see that relationship earned on both sides, as opposed to just skipping from who the heck are you to let's get out of here, auntie, we need to go to France kind of thing. Another thing about that exchange is because in the books, Philippe wasn't notified of Matthew's behavior in London by Father Hubbard. He found out via other means. He didn't really know about Diana. And so the call from Philippe was for Matthew to come home. And in the books, The idea was, is she going to go to France with him? Is she going to stay here because she still needs to find a teacher because they haven't found one yet? And Philippe, not a big fan of witches. Neither is his mother at this time. I mean, she's really not a fan of witches at this time. And so there was a debate on whether or not she should even go with Matthew. And so at the end, they decided they didn't want to be separated, and they went together. And it started this entire storyline that is one of the best moments in the book, which is Diana and Philippe and them coming to know each other and all of that stuff. So I'm really hoping they don't change any of that in the show, because again, that was one of the most beautiful and important moments in the book. And I think that given the actors they have in play on this, it can be a highlight of the season if they do it right. So hopefully they don't screw that up. Okay. That's it for this one. Like I said, they have been playing very close to the vest, if you will, with how the story is being translated, other than what we're seeing with them shifting events around. Some things happening before where they used to happen after other events. Other than that, and the new stuff that I think is adding a lot to the story, it's been pretty spot on with what's happening in the books. You do get some things like the visits to the current day are very much new, but I think they're needed for a medium like TV, because you can't just ignore those characters for 500 pages like you can in a book. And so being able to check back in on them and see what they're doing to deal with Matthew and Diana being gone, not knowing where they really are, if they even survived, those are really nice touch points to keep those characters in our minds, so that when they come back around full circle and they're part of the story, it's not oh, hey, I haven't seen you in a year and a half, because of the way production schedules are. So I think that was a really smart move on their part to keep those moments, even small though they are, of us jumping back to the present and getting some time with these characters that we love. So great job on that on the part of the writers and producers. Okay, that's it for this one. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them in the comments. Hopefully, it's been a nightmare trying to get these videos made, just because of being in lockdown still in some sense in California, because of how bad the outbreaks are. We're on top of each other in our home, and it's hard to find time where it's quiet enough to be able to make these videos. So I'm really hoping I can get the next video out quickly for episode 4. But until then, I appreciate you guys sticking with me on this journey, and I guess the only thing left is to say, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. It's a free internet. I won't hold it against you. Subscribe if you aren't already, and until I see you guys in the next video, read a good book, watch a good show, tell me what they are so that I can read a good book and watch a good show, because I'm running out of stuff to watch in this pandemic atmosphere. Take it easy.